brought out some old school video, right?
Oh my goodness, old school is right.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
That an SEC championship game or
SEC, tournament game, second round.
that 14 or 15?
15.
That's 15. Okay.
Oh, same one. Whoops. 1 second.
Carolina.
This one's
Oh, this is the one I wanted to see.
Oh, God.
How many?
On the right side of the diamond for Wiseman at the plate. And the pitch to the left-handed batter, and he swings and crushes this one way back to right. If it's fair, it's gone. And this is deep into the night. Another solo homer off the bat of Rhett Wiseman. It's 4 Carolina League affiliate for Washington. 3 indoors on the right side of the diamond, Carolina.
So I want to thank everybody for taking some time to join Rhett and I tonight to talk about hitting. I know the topic we picked tonight was how to train like a pro. For those of you that don't know Rhett or haven't met Rhett, I'll give you guys a little bit of background, and then we'll let Rhett talk about what he's been up to for the last 10 years or so. But Rhett actually grew up in Mansfield, Massachusetts. He was one of our original RBI members, I would say. I think the first time I met him, he was probably 9 or 10 years old walking through our facility, maybe even younger than that. But went to BB&N, Buckingham Browns and Nichols in Cambridge, and played on one of our Hawks teams back in 2011, I think. And then in 2012, as a senior, he was voted Massachusetts Player of the Year, Gatorade Player of the Year. Went on and had 3 great years at Vanderbilt University, outstanding school, won a College World Series in 2014, and then went back in 2015 and almost won another one that came up just short against Virginia. And then after his junior year, was drafted by the Washington Nationals in the 3rd round. He was actually drafted at a high school as well, but after his junior year of college, he was drafted by the Nationals and has spent the last 4 or 5 seasons with the Nationals. He was a Carolina League All-Star in 2018, and then was an Eastern League All-Star last year in 2019. So, Rhett, thanks a lot for being with us. It's always great to see you, and I know some of you may have seen Rhett. He stops in every now and again when he's not training in Nashville at Vanderbilt. So, great to see you, buddy, and thanks for taking some time with us.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've been looking forward to this. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to talk to everybody and, kind of go over some things with some guys that I was in a similar position to, what feels like another lifetime ago. And, like we talked about, just we'll talk baseball, just like you and I always do.
So I know what you've been up to since high school, but why don't you just talk a little bit about, your baseball journey since you left Mansfield and high school, and just your time at Vandy, and maybe just your last 5 years in pro ball. I know a lot has changed, and you're constantly making adjustments. So just talk a little bit about your experience over the last 10 years or so from college to pro ball.
Yeah, 10 years, that's a lot of baseball. I don't even know how many games I've played in those 10 years.
Scary.
There's been that's such a multi-dimensional question, right? Because there has been so much that's changed, but it's the same game, whether it's high school or pro. The only thing that's changed from, playing for BB&N to playing for the Hawks in the summer to playing in college, the Cape League, pro ball, single A, double A, rookie ball, whatever it is, it's the same game. The only thing that's changed is the speed of the game. That's it. Whether that's the pitching speed to the infielder speed to the outfielder speed, just how the game speeds up, that's it. Like, there's no difference in the game, I've been incredibly fortunate. I've been so blessed to play in some places that I have with some teammates that I've played. You know, people ask me all the time. One of the biggest questions I get all the time is, you know, what kind of goals, you know, one thing that has not changed either. From when I was younger, my goal has always been, no matter what team I'm on, no matter what season it is, it's to win a championship. That's it. I don't set any personal goals. So that's one of the things that also has remained over the last 10 years of me playing, that has remained the same. And, you know, I've been fortunate enough to win a lot of championships. A lot of the times those goals have been completed. You know, one thing that I've realized is when you set personal goals, it's more about you, right? And with team goals, it's about the team. And what I've realized over, you know, my playing career so far is when the team does well, I've realized that I've done really well. And when the team does poorly, I haven't done as well. So if I can, you know, set a goal to win a championship every single year, I do what I can to aid the team in doing that and accomplishing that goal. And in return, I go, wow, I look back on the season and go, wow, I had a really good season trying to win a championship. And, you know, hopefully that's what happens. You know, I've played in so many places over the last 10 years, Rap, where it's like, it's crazy thinking back to, you know, high school days and playing in college and playing for the Hawks and how I started in pro ball. It's so multifaceted. There's so many games, there's so many changes. But at the end of the day, it's the same game and I still love playing it.
So I want to go back to a 14-year-old Rhett Wiseman.
Okay.
And I remember the day your dad had said, okay, I want you to work with, I would love you to work with Rhett. You're the only one I trust him with. And I think at the time you were 14, you might have been an eighth grader going into your freshman year. You may have been a freshman, but I think you were in eighth grade. And guys, make no mistake about this. A 14-year-old Rhett Wiseman was very advanced as far as stat speed and strength and the ability to hit a ball really hard. But there were things that, and I don't know if you remember this, Rhett, the first day in the cage, you'd hit a little bit, and I said to you, I know you're successful now, and you the way you hit now works and it plays. But my goal or our goal has got to be that I want you to be successful with the pitching you're going to face 5 years from now and hopefully 10 years from now. Do you remember that?
Yep.
And ultimately I said, you've got to be your best coach. So my job as a hitting coach is to help you get better. But I want to make sure that you understand yourself better than anybody else. And because ultimately you've got to do this. You've got to hit, you've got to train, and you've got to be the one to hold yourself accountable. So how is that played when you think about where you were, you know, as a 14-year-old to how you developed not only as a person, but as a hitter over the years, and how often you're as a player, especially in pro ball, you can be pulled in different directions. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of different philosophies. There's many, many different drills that work for a lot of people. Just talk a little bit about the importance of knowing yourself as a hitter, how to train, and being your best coach.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great place to start. Because, you know, after games, when you just had a rough game and you go to the cage and you're hitting for 3 hours by yourself, you're by yourself, right? You have so many people that want to help you all the time. But at the end of the day, when you get in the box, it's only you. So the biggest thing for me I've found is, you know, and you and I have talked about this a ton. It's when you step in the box, you got to just hit. You have to just compete, right? There's a time and place for cage work, thinking about having a soft front foot and thinking about loading up my backside and thinking about staying down through the ball and thinking about being quick and short to the ball and thinking about my approach and thinking about my head movement and thinking about my hands and my feet and my ankles and everything. But when you get in the box, you have to just compete. And I have found that when things aren't feeling good for me and I need to get back to, you know, trying to be successful, the number one thing that kind of brings me back is just getting comfortable. I try and just get as comfortable as I can. And, you know, finding that comfortability for me is, okay, get your hands where they're comfortable, get your feet where they're comfortable, be athletic, and hit. And just hit. You know, knowing my swing, and for everybody who's listening right now, you know, your swing is not Nolan Arenado's swing. So, you know, when you have a hitting coach that pulls you in the back room and pulls up Barry Bonds and goes, hey, you know, look at Barry's swing. You know, look, this is kind of where you're at. This is where we want to get you to. It's like, well, I'm not Barry Bonds, you know? So I think film is great. I think guys who watch film, I think it's fantastic. I think there's things you can pick up by watching the best players in the game. But I've seen a lot of guys who, you know, look at, you know, a video of Sammy Sosa taking swings, or, you know, Bryce Harper hitting. You can't be Bryce Harper. You can't be Sammy Sosa. There are things that those guys do that you can't do, and that's okay, because there are things that Bryce Harper can do that Juan Soto can't do, and vice versa. So, you know, learning your swing and just being comfortable in the box. And Rap, you and I have talked about this 100 times. You know, another thing that allows me to get back to me, which is the same for every single guy in this group. It's something that I do that every single guy in this group does, and every single guy in the big leagues does. And you can control this, is just being on time to hit. That is one of the most important things. You can have a terrible swing, and if you're on time, you can be the best hitter in the league.
Yeah. How many times in the times that we've hit together have we talked about hitting is rhythm, hitting is timing, hitting is rhythm, hitting is timing. And if you can be on time consistently, you've got a much better chance to consistently hit the ball hard.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know, when we talk about, you just talked about a lot of really good hitters, and not one of them hit the same. They all hit differently, right? Everybody's different. And, you know, not only are they different hitters, they move differently, their body types are different. And you're right. When you pull up video on hitters and say, here's Nolan Arenado, or here's Juan Soto, I'd like you to hit like this. Players don't necessarily move like those hitters. Everybody's built differently. To me, you know, if people that were to ask me, and it happens a lot as far as hitting philosophy, I think I always start with, there's not one way to hit. Everybody's different. And, you know, my goal as a hitting coach is to try to teach hitters and get hitters really good at moving well and really good at hitting pitches thrown by a pitcher, right? So what does that mean? So my goal is to take you from your training setup, whether it's in a batting cage or on the field, and eventually have you get to the point where you can consistently compete in games, right? Whatever that level may be. So it could be at a high school level, it could be at a varsity level, it could be at a professional level or a college level, but everybody's different, right? But there are keys to being a good hitter.
Yep.
Right? Certain things that we know we have to do. We need it, and you listed a lot of them. You know, balance, lower half, foundation we talk about, getting to a good launch position with your hands and body, swing path, swing plane. And, you know, you talked about mindset, you know, having confidence when you get to the plate and have a mindset that I want to do damage. But I think the main thing you just talked about, you said comfortable. I want to be comfortable, right? So really, what are you doing? You want to just try to keep it simple, because there's so many things that go into being a good hitter that if we step into the batter's box and we have any conscious thoughts of mechanics, what happens?
It's over.
We're done.
You're over. It's over before it started.
We're done, right? So our job as a coach, or my job as a coach, is try to put you in a position where you really are able to develop a real plan and process as to how you train. So when you get a game, it's fun time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to go hit. I'm going to look for my pitch to hit. I'm going to try to do damage. So let's go back a little bit. Let's go back to you're in spring training.
Yep.
In March. And last year, Double-A, which to me, I think is the most competitive level of professional baseball, minor league baseball.
Yep.
I think if you can succeed at Double-A level, you're a big leaguer and you
Mm-hmm.
just need to make your breaks and get yourself to an opportunity to get to the big leagues. And getting to the big leagues is more than just talent. It's talent and it's circumstance, and there's some luck involved, and it's overcoming adversity. But let's go back 10 weeks. You're in West Palm Beach.
Yep.
With an opportunity to either, go to AAA or you're going to be back in AA, hopefully. And then all of a sudden this situation hits.
Yep.
The virus hits, and they tell you we're shutting things down.
Yep.
And we're going to cancel. We're going to suspend spring training, and you do what? Tell me what you've been up to the last 10 weeks, where you've been mentally as far as trying to get yourself ready, because I'm guessing at this point you're not really sure where you're at, right, as far as what the team's going to do. So just let's talk a little bit about where you've been the last 10 weeks mentally, how you've been training, and maybe talk a little bit about focusing on the things you can control, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think in this game in general, that's a great point. It's all about focusing on the things that you can control, because a lot of it you can't, as is life, right? So, just like every single person who's watching this right now, you bust your butt all fall and all winter to prepare for the season, whether it's your high school season, your college season, your travel ball season, whatever it is, your pro season. And, you get there, you get to that point, right? Everybody in this group, they got there. They got to the spring. It's baseball season. And, I get to spring training, you're ready to go. And then all of a sudden, okay, the season gets put on hiatus. There's no season. So that's really tough, because you look back and you go, wow, I just put in hundreds of hours. I've finally gotten myself to a point where I feel really good. I'm really ready for the season, whether it's hitting, pitching, whatever it is. Guys have been working in the gym to get faster. Guys have been working, on their throwing from the outfield, throwing across the diamond, their glove work, they're hitting. You get ready to play, and now you're not going to play. So, I think that's tough. And for me, that was really tough too. And for a week, I just totally shut it down. I said, you know what? I don't know what's going on. The team, the Nationals had no idea what was going on either. They said, stay in shape, do what you can. Don't overdo it. Don't do too little, stay in shape. But we understand the gyms are closed and the cages are closed, so do what you can. So I came to Nashville, and, I got an Airbnb right next to a public park. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to kind of put the bat down for a little bit. And, I'm not going to throw for a little bit. I've been kind of busting it here nonstop since October. I'm going to kind of give myself a little break for a little while. And, I started going on walks during the day, and I'd start lifting. And I said, you know what? It's beautiful outside. I should be playing baseball. So I had to pick the bat up again. I had to pick the ball up. And there's a park right across the street from me. So I've been going there every day. There's a couple guys that I went to Vanderbilt with that, we get in the cage and we hit 4 times a week. We do front toss. We throw BP to each other. I lift every day. I do my 350 push-ups every day. I do my 400 squats, my body weight squats. I lift, 2 jugs of water until I can't lift them anymore, because I can't get kettlebells on Amazon, and that's okay, because I can find other ways to stay strong. I've been playing long toss. I mean, just anything to kind of scratch that itch, because if I sit around all day and play video games and watch TV, I'm going to blink and it's going to be, October again. And I'm going to say, what did I just do to get better? I'm going to use this time to get better. Because in my mind, I need to say, okay, when I lay my head down at night, what did I do today to get better? Well, okay, I threw long toss today. I threw hard. I threw to bases today. I threw 1-hop throws to the bases. Now, I'm not saying that everybody needs to throw to bases and throw a long toss, but I need something to say to myself at night before I go to bed. I got better today. Because that's a question I ask myself every night. Did you get better today? Yes. And if my answer is no, tomorrow I better work twice as hard. And I don't want to ever say no. So whether it's literally I'm watching a show on Netflix and I pause it 20 minutes in and do my 40 push-ups. Okay, you just earned another 20 minutes in Netflix. There's just something I'm doing constantly because I need to get better. I need to do something. And, you know, I'm in the same boat as all the guys watching right now. There's nothing you can do. You know, and that's not your fault. You can't control that. But what you can control is getting off your butt and doing push-ups or doing sit-ups or going into the backyard and you know, and throwing into a screen or into a net or whatever that may be, throwing a ball up against the house, you know, just to get better, move your arm, run sprints in the driveway, do something. So that's what I've been doing, finding stuff to do to make myself feel good about getting better.
Because, you know, at some point, and I know it's probably a little bit more unknown for you because they're just talking about, you know, Major League Baseball trying to come up with plans on when to come back. You haven't heard as much about minor league baseball. And it's the same thing with these guys is, you know, we now see some light where we know we're going to be able, hopefully, to get back together and start training again. But it is hard when you don't know, okay, here's the date when we're going to start. But at some point, you know you're going to have to be ready. And ultimately, you've got to hold yourself accountable. You've got to be your best coach, which is really what we had talked about. So, you know, we talk about the importance of preparation, you know, and a lot of times, you know, couple of sayings I always think about is, you know, one is the battle is won before it's even fought. And the other is work really hard and you get really good at your process and be present. And then the results will take care of themselves. But you can't control the results, but you can control the work that goes into playing the game. So let's talk a little bit about in a normal situation, how you normally would train, okay? If you're in the off season, okay, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you've done. And I know it's changed a little bit over the years. And you've got a really good situation when you're in Nashville because of, you know, the connection with Vanderbilt and the facilities they have there. But let's just talk a little bit about what you do in the off season and how you develop the routine. Do you have some go-to drills? You know, what are some of the things that you're going to do to get yourself ready for the season?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And this has totally changed over my career. I used to be a really big proponent of, you know, flips, tee work, and there's a place for that, right? But what I've found for me is replicating, and baseball's tough, right? Because baseball is one of the only sports that you can't practice full speed. You can't train full speed. So I have tried to develop a routine that's going to get me prepared for what I actually see in my season. So for me, on average, every single day, right, last year in AA, if you see a guy throwing 94, he's the number 5 in the rotation, and that's where you have to get your hits. Because every single guy is 95 to 100, whether they're a starter or out of the bullpen, and I have to be ready for that every day. So when you see the ace of a rotation, that guy's 96, 98, and he goes for 6 innings. He's got 2+ off-speed pitches, and he'll be in the big leagues in 2 months. And then right behind him is a guy that's 94, 97 with a really good slider and a good changeup, you know, and it's one after the next, one after the next. So in my work, I can't, you know, there's no coach that's going to be able to throw 98 miles an hour to me to get me ready for that. So I have to develop a routine that's going to get me ready for that. It's going to get me ready to hit a guy that throws 97 miles an hour. So when I first get in the cage, I need to wake my body up. I need to tell my body what to do in game speed. So I'll get in there right away. Now, the tough thing is some of the drills to teach my body every day to get that muscle memory going the way that I want. I do flips. I don't do much off the tee. I do flips, but I do flips pretty firm, right? Like you and I always do. We don't do the flips where the ball is a big arc rainbow. Keep the ball in a line, right? I try to, even though flips can't be at 100 miles an hour, we're never really seeing a ball that comes up and goes down. It comes up and goes down. So I try to keep that. I ask whoever's throwing me flips, you keep it on a nice, straight, firm plane. And I like to do my top hand, bottom hand with no stride. That's how I start every single day, because I need to wake my body up, say, okay, you're hitting today. You have a contest. You have a game. Or in the off season, hey, you got a bat in your hand. This is what I want. This is the mechanics that I want to see. And I take that top hand, bottom hand, and I hit low line drives the other way with no stride. That does a couple things for me. The first thing it does, I'm hitting balls down, because everything I do in the cage, when I bring it out onto the field, it's going to be multiplied. So if I'm hitting hard ground balls in the cage, those are going to be low line drives in the game. If I'm hitting low line drives in the cage, those are going to be medium line drives in the game, which is what I want. I want medium height line drives in the game. If I'm hitting balls up into the screen in my flips or top of the net, those balls are going to be pop-ups. Why? Because in a game situation, the game's going to be faster. Things are going to be, happening at such a quicker rate. I'm going to be a little bit off. There's going to be more room for error. And those balls I'm hitting to the top of the net are going to be skied pop-ups. Those are outs. I don't want to, baseball's too hard. I don't want to make outs. I want to try and maximize my training, just like every single guy in this group. So nice, hard, low line drives, bottom of the net. Now, another thing I do is I want to let the ball travel. I want to let that ball get deep, as you and I talk about. So I let that ball travel. And, I remember hitting with Nomar and you years ago. And one thing that you and Nomar said to me, I'll never forget, is let that ball get as deep as possible. Let it get behind you and then try and hit it. And that's something I still do every day, because you don't know how quick you are. And every day I need to remind myself how quick I am. So I try to let the ball get behind me. And you're so quick, obviously you never let that ball get behind you. But in my mind, it just allows the ball to travel. And I go, oh, it's too late. I got to swing. Really, I'm hitting it right where I should be. Right? Because you know me, we've hit together for a decade. Even more than a decade. You and I are going on 12 years hitting together. And, one thing that I always do is I get so anxious. I go, okay, don't get beat. I get around balls and I'm too early and I pull balls. So me starting out every day thinking, okay, let the ball travel, trust your hands. I let it get as deep as I can. I take my legs totally out of it by doing no stride. And I just try to drive the ball down. No launch angle. I'm not working on my launch angle. I'm just driving the ball down. I'm chopping wood. I'm being direct to the ball, and I'm hitting low line drives into the screen. And then from there, then I start slowly incorporating my legs, slowly incorporating a stride, working into my soft toss routine, and then getting into the more fun stuff that's going to replicate a game situation.
Right. And really, you nailed it, because what you said is that every drill that you do ultimately has a translation for a game. It's preparing you for what you're going to see in a game. And Coach Olmo, you might be able to pull up some of those drills just so we can kind of get an idea. Also, here's some video that we got from you, Rhett. This was I think this was March. This was probably right before you went to spring training.
Yeah.
This was live pitching, I think.
Yep.
So we actually got some video of you just facing a hitter, and play that again, right? And then this is you can play that one again. So this is really game speed or close to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of them. And then we did this is some soft toss. This is some front toss that we did. I think you were actually hooked up to the K-Vest at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So this gives you a little idea, just so you guys can get an idea of what Rhett looks like as far as speed and pace goes in the cage. What's funny too, Rhett, is this I think was – I want to say this was probably right around Christmas time, 2019.
Yep.
So you think about this is where you were in November, December 2019, And
Yep.
then fast forward to that last video 3 months later.
Mm-hmm.
Are there adjustments?
Absolutely.
Of course there are. You're constantly making adjustments, right? So
Yep.
you get an idea of, if you guys watching this video now, watching Rhett hit, this isn't, he's in control, he's got intent, he's working, but he's letting his body work, right? There's a pace to it, and we're working on many different things that there's focus to, but we're really trying to be comfortable in our swing so it's repeatable. So, Coach Rye, if you go to let's go to some of those drills, because Rhett talked about he's not really, if I read this correctly or I heard you correctly, T has a place.
Yep.
But for you now, T isn't necessarily your go-to drill. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So, but there may be a time when you're by yourself,
Definitely.
and you need to get some swings in, or you need to feel something that the T
Yep.
can come in handy.
Of
For
course.
me, when I think about go-to drills, I was a huge fan of the T when I was playing, because really for a couple of reasons. One is I could do it all by myself. I need anybody's help. I need a bucket of balls, a tee, and I'm good to go on my own. I can change where the tee is. I can change where the ball is, middle and out. I can work up. I can work down, right?
Yep.
You mentioned another drill. We talked about, what's the next drill we got there, Rye? No stride soft toss. You talk about taking your legs out of it. I love no stride soft toss, right? So you're already in that, you're in your launch position or close to it.
Mm-hmm.
Really, you're working on, to me, I want to focus on a couple of things. I want to get myself to my good launch position.
Yep.
I want to really make sure I'm firing those hips, really working on my backside or my hips starting my swing, and those hands following down and through. What are your thoughts, Rhett? No stride.
Definitely. I mean, no stride for me is where I feel the most my backside. It allows me to get into a position to say, okay, this is the position I need to get to in the game. And the more I get into that power position, as you and I have called it, the more I can feel that power position, the easier it is for me to do that in the game, right? And everything we're doing, we're trying to replicate in a game. We're not going to the cage to hit just to hit. I'm trying to replicate something in the cage that I can bring to the game. So I need to feel that launch position, that no stride soft toss, that no stride front toss, as, hey, this is a position I need to get into in a game situation. So when I get in that position, I'm thinking, okay, my hands are right here, my back legs here, my feet are here. Great. Now explode, get those hips through, and let the hands just come on behind afterwards.
Right. And so after we go no stride, you mentioned another couple of drills that I love, my favorite as well, go-to drills. You mentioned top hand, bottom hand, right?
Yep.
And we have it here working off a tee, but you can do this front toss as well, flips. And, to me, again, this is for me breaking down my swing. Each part of my swing has a role. And to me, it's feel, right? So top hand, I'm really work on my plane and my bat path through the zone, making sure when I finish and I make contact, that top hand is palm up and I'm staying through. And then my bottom hand, so my top hand is more of that guide. Now it generates bat speed, it generates power, there's no question, but it really helps me to manipulate the barrel, so to speak, through the zone. And then my bottom hand is more of that drive hand, right? So I'm really driving through, getting on plane and staying through the baseball. So at contact, that palm is down. Any other keys that you think about when you're going top hand, bottom hand?
Top hand, bottom hand, I'm really trying to stay through the ball. Sometimes in top hand, bottom hand, I get, I'll get underneath and I'll hit pop-ups into the side of the screen, or I'll get around a ball and chop it down to the first baseline. I'm really trying, because that top hand, it's guiding me through the zone. So I need that top hand to be locked in. Mm-hmm. And how I do that is I think, okay, I'm hitting 4 balls, or I'm hitting 3 balls at one time. They're all lined up with each other. And that way, like you said, that palm up finish, if I'm thinking that I have to hit 3 baseballs, I'm staying through the ball first baseball, second baseball, third baseball, and then, kind of finishing my swing. And it's keeping me through the ball. So stay through it, stay through it, stay through it. And if I can take 4 or 5 top hand where I stay through and hit nice low line drives, then I move to my bottom hand.
And you just said something that is so important. And I think when we talk about the subject of this lecture, right, train like a pro, it doesn't need to be a bucket every drill. It could be 5 swings top hand. It could be 10. It's whatever gets you to the point where you feel right, and, sometimes when you hit, your workout could be an hour. Sometimes when you hit, your workout could be 20 minutes, right?
Yep.
It's about getting yourself to where your swing is where you want it to be that day and you feel comfortable with it, and then you move on. So really, I think training as like a pro is about knowing yourself as a hitter. You have those routines, and you also know when to say, I'm good today, and you move on, right? So we got any other drills, Rye? Seated overhand BP. I know you like this one, Rhett.
Oh, yeah. This is one of my favorites.
So this is where we're working on, again, a little bit closer, so we got a little bit more speed, right? I know you like to do this at some point where you're actually feeling like you're in an at-bat. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so one thing that I do with all my batting practice in the off season, I'll do this drill every single day. And then usually from this drill, I'll move to a machine throwing about 95 miles an hour from really close as well. And one of the biggest things and this is recent for me as in the last 2 years, is I try to make everything has a purpose, right? Everything has, you're not in the cage just hitting, So what I do to try and lock in is I go, okay, right now you're in an at-bat, right? So when I step in that box, it's 0-0. And whoever's throwing to me is like, okay, 0-0, here we go. They mix in off-speed, sliders, change-ups, whatever it is. They change their rhythm. They change their tempo because I want to make it as game-like as possible. So when I'm in there, I'm like, okay, I step out. I do my routine. I take my gloves off. I take a deep breath. I adjust my helmet. I get back in there. Here we go. 0-0. And then, listen, if that BP thrower throws me a fastball away on the black, 0-0, I don't want that pitch. I'm taking it. 0-1. And I do I do them in at-bats. So as your batting practice is going, I'm creating skills that are going to help me in a game situation, because if I go in there and take batting practice every single day and I'm just hitting, and if I take a pitch, it doesn't matter, or if I pop a pitch up, it doesn't matter. But when I get into a game, I'm 0-2, and okay, I haven't been, this whole off season, I've just been taking BP, and then I get into a situation in March. I'm in spring training against a guy throwing 95 miles an hour, and I'm 0-2. I haven't been 0-2 since last September. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm 0-2. Like, what am I doing? No. If I was to get into a situation where I was 0-2 tomorrow, I'd be like, oh, I was 0-2 3 days ago in the cage when my buddy was throwing to me. I choked up. I looked for a fastball away. He's throwing hard, and I battled, and I hit a line drive to left field. What that's done is that's given me confidence. I've been there before. I've been replicating at bats this entire offseason, so when I get into that situation, I'm comfortable.
Right. So a lot of you guys, so just so you know, there's a chat feature at the bottom of your screens. If you guys have any questions for Rhett or I, feel free to put that in, and Coach Omo can kind of review them. I've got a couple more things that we can talk about, and then we'll open it up to some questions from you guys or some of the coaches. But, so what do you, so Nationals, you've been with the Nationals for 4 full seasons, I believe, right?
Yep.
Talk a little bit about how they've approached development as an organization over the past 5 years, and has that changed how you prepare at all?
Yeah, the Nationals are really big on, getting yourself ready for the game, right? And in college, you have a very kind of strict regimen as to how you are to prepare before the game. When you get to the pro level, you're pretty much on your own. You need to do what you need to do to get your body ready to play. And, you know, getting your body ready to play for 17 high school games is different than getting your body ready to play before 35 summer league games. And that's different from getting your body ready to play 60 college games. And then what you do in college to get ready to play is different from what you do in a pro season to get ready for 142 games. So what the Nationals have done, which I'm very thankful for, is they've given me my own tools to get my body ready, to get my mind ready to play that day. So what does that mean? That means me getting to the field at noon for a 7 o'clock game to get my body work in at 12:15, at 12:30. What does that mean? To get with the trainer, to have him, you know, stretch me, to get a full stretch in, to get a small lift in, to start firing my muscles that I'm going to be using that night. It also means getting in the cage at 1 o'clock, doing my early work, doing all the drills we just talked about. It means coming back in, relaxing for a little bit before I go back out for a full batting practice, coming back in, getting all my defensive work in, getting all my offensive work in on the field, going back in, having some more food, going back out, throwing the bases, getting ready for the game, doing my pregame running, doing everything I need to do. The Nationals have done a really good job of saying, hey, listen, this is your career. What do you need to do to get ready to play at 7 o'clock? And that's different for everybody. And that goes for high school guys. That goes for middle school players. That goes for guys playing in their summer leagues. That goes for guys that play for you in the Hawks. Rap, 13, 14, 15. Every guy, there's something different that needs to be done to get them ready to play at that time. And, you know, the earlier you can find that out, the better. And that's something that took me a long time. You know, I've struggled with small injuries. Why? Because, well, you weren't ready to play. You didn't do what you needed to do before the game to get ready to play. So the Nats have really been good about, you know, allowing me to develop a routine to get ready to play at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think, you know, something I've learned as a coach over the last 25 years, which is kind of scary, is that, you know, players learn differently. And the way I have to connect and we have to connect as coaches with our players is going to be different for everybody. And,
Yeah.
you know, because some players are really self-aware and some guys are, you know, they're self-conscious. So you have to be careful of how you coach and how you work with them. Talk a little bit about, I know obviously at Vanderbilt, from a facility standpoint and from a program standpoint, you know, certainly one of the top programs in the country. And you're a big part of that for sure. And then, you know, now in pro ball, talk a little bit about the use of technology. I know, you know, we don't get to see each other as much when you're playing, but I'll get texts from you with video all the time, which I love. So you've got the ability to use analysis, video analysis, and see your swing. And there's other things out there now that a lot of organizations are using, whether it's, you know, Blast or K-Motion or TrackMan or whatever they're using. Talk a little bit about how you use technology and how it's worked for you or not over the last 5 years or so.
Yeah. You know, I think technology plays a huge part, right? I think that there are a bunch of different aspects of technology that are more important than others for me. You know, one thing you and I have always done, Rap, which I'm just huge on, is film. And it's not, you know, always like we talked about earlier, looking at major leaguers. I think there's a ton of stuff to learn from those guys, but I'm never going to be, you know, some of those guys. Mm-hmm. And it's not because of, you know, difference in talent, which it is for some, but I have a different swing than those guys. You know, everybody has a different swing. And like you talked about, it's about learning that swing. So you and I going over film of my swing is huge for me. I do a ton of film stuff, but with my swing. I look at my swing. I go, okay, what's off here? Okay, maybe my timing. Maybe my backside's not getting through the way I want. And then whatever it is, I bring that into the cage the next day, or I bring that into the cage that day. I watch a ton of film. I love the hit tracks when we're using it for the right things, right? I think the hit tracks is great. You know, there are aspects of the hit tracks that I like. There's aspects of the hit tracks that I don't. I think with all technology, there are things that I really like and things that I really don't. I'll tell you what I really don't like. I can't stand launch angle. I can't stand, you know, everybody on Twitter talking about how guys need to hit fly balls, because it's not true. I don't think there is any – I think, you know, and this is what I talk to guys that I play with all the time about this, because it's a huge thing that's going on right now, that a lot of young guys get caught up in their launch angle, right? You and I, when you and I hit on the hit tracks, you and I talk about launch angle. You know what I mean? That's something that is for 1% of hitters. And I believe that the only people that should look at launch angle are guys that can hit balls out of the park to left, center, and right in batting practice whenever they want. Because launch angle is based on your ability to hit a ball over the fence, right, at a certain mile an hour. And that doesn't make you a good hitter, right? Understanding, okay, what my launch angle is great, but in my opinion, it's great to say, oh my goodness, my launch angle is too high. I need to lower it. Because it's all about hitting line drives. It's not about swinging up, you know. It's not about hitting balls in the air, because those are outs. And all, you know, a lot of the guys that are listening to this right now who are on here, as you guys play, the outfielders get better. You know, the fields get bigger. So those balls that are going over guys' heads right now are outs at the next level. But those balls that you guys are driving in the gaps, those balls are still getting in the gaps at the next level. So I'm just really big on line drives wrap, line drives in the gap, hard line drives on the ground, low line drives, launch angle drives me nuts, hit the ball hard. I love the hit tracks for exit velocities. It's my favorite thing. Hit the ball hard, hit the ball hard, hit the ball hard.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, to me, it really is about line drives, hitting the ball as hard as you can consistently, and being able to repeat that swing. And if you can do that at 10 years old, and you can do that at 14 and then 18, you've got a chance to be really good to continue that. And ultimately, if you hit a ball hard on the line, that's going to play whether you're a little leaguer or you're a big leaguer. Line drives play. So I know some of our coaches may have had some questions for you. I'm going to ask one more. I'm going to ask one more thing, and then we'll open up, see if there's anything out there. But you mentioned it earlier. You talked about being on time, and to me, mechanics are important. And there's a lot of things that go into being a good hitter. And we could talk about hitting mechanics and the things that go into it really for hours. We could certainly do that. But we could have the prettiest swing in the league, the prettiest swing going. But if we don't know how to get on time, and how to train for it, we're going to have issues. We're going to have problems. So talk a little bit about how you train timing.
Yeah.
Not only in the off season, but let's talk about in game.
Okay.
Right? So let's talk about in game. You're facing different pitchers every 3-4 innings, right? Talk a little bit about how you get your timing going before you even get into the batting box.
Yeah. So the biggest thing for me is my timing, right? You can't get your timing down when you don't see somebody. So you have to be seeing a guy, you know. Trying to get your timing down when I look at pregame video of who's throwing doesn't work. So the first time I see that guy is in the on-deck circle.
Right.
So that's where my timing starts. So when I get in the on-deck circle, you know, I'm not, you know, putting the weight on, spinning it around for the ladies in the stands. You know, I'm not checking out who's at the game. I'm trying to use that time to get ready to hit. So, you know, I'll take my warm-up swings, whatever. But when that pitcher gets on the mound and he's getting his sign, I'm pretending that I'm in the box. I set my feet up to where I'm lined up with the hitter. so I'm getting somewhat of a legitimate angle on the pitcher. And I'm on time every time in the on-deck circle. And if I'm late, I'm like, okay, get it down earlier, get it down earlier. I want to know when I have to be ready to hit when I already get up to the box. So for me, I'm doing all that homework. I'm putting all that work in the on-deck circle. And if I'm not ready to hit in the on-deck circle, when I go up to the plate, I have no chance. Because, in the on-deck circle, you might see one pitch. That's tough. You might see 7, 8, 9 pitches. Great. But when I get up in the box, it's still so hard. It's still going to be so tough for me. I'm going to see a breaking ball. I'm going to see change-ups. I'm going to see sliders in the dirt. I'm going to see fastballs up in my face. I'm going to see fastballs away. I'm going to see fastballs in. It's still going to be really hard. So I'm going to try and make it as easy for me as possible. And for me, that's getting my timing down. So when I get in the box, at least the only thing I can control is being on time.
Right. And, on top of that, you've got to be ready because that first pitch may be the best pitch you see.
Yeah.
It may be, that first pitch fastball. How often does it happen where you take that first pitch middle in just because you weren't quite ready? And then, when you have 500 at-bats in the season, you hate to say it, but at times you give at-bats away.
Definitely.
I think back to, and a lot of these guys probably don't even know the name, and I'm going to date myself, but when I was playing professionally, one of my hitting instructors was Collier Templeton. I know I've talked to you about this. He asked me a question about how many at-bats I get in a game. He said, Rap, how many at-bats do you get in a game? I said, I get, 3, 4, maybe a walk mixed in. And he said, no, you should get anywhere from 10 to 18 at-bats every game. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, you have to treat every pitch as an at-bat. You have to be ready to hit every pitch. And that starts right in the batter's box. In the on-deck circle. Because in the on-deck circle, if you're tracking and you're working in your timing, you've actually had an at-bat before you physically get into the batter's box. So it's preparation. And the battle is won. Most battles are won before they're fought. So what about what happens in between at bats? So you're not in the on deck circle.
Yeah.
You're on the bench, right? In between at bats, your team is hitting.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about what happens with you from an approach and a mental standpoint when you're not hitting or you're not on deck, where you're still preparing yourself.
Well, the biggest thing is when I'm on defense, I'm playing defense, right? So whatever I do in that at bat, whether I hit a home run or whether I strike out on 3 pitches right down the middle of the plate and miss them by 2 feet, when I'm on defense, I'm playing D. That's it. It's over. Playing defense. It's behind me. It's over. I can't rewind time. I struck out. I had a bad at bat. I missed that first pitch fastball and popped it up. Whatever. I'm on defense. I need to be ready to make a play for my team. That's it. When I go back into the dugout, I go, okay, what happened? What just happened to my last at bat? I go through it in my head. Okay, first pitch was fastball away. Okay. Second pitch was fastball away. All right. Third pitch was a breaking ball in the dirt. Okay. Fourth pitch was a fastball away. Huh. I'm like, okay, so when I face this guy again, I have a better understanding of how he's going to try to get me out. Because if a guy gets you out one way, your first at bat, the odds are he's going to try and do that same thing again to get you out again because it worked. So I try and realize, okay, what is the pitcher trying to do to me? He's trying to get me out. Or I'll face a guy that's throwing me all off speed. I go, okay, he's throwing me all off speed. He might throw me a show me fastball off the plate or up high, but he's going right back to that off speed. So I'm sitting on the bench, I'm watching the game, cheering my teammates on, but I'm like, okay, you know what? This is how this guy's trying to get me out. So when I get up to the plate that next time, I have a better idea. Hey, you know what? He just threw me 7 fastballs away, and I grounded out. I'm going to look for a fastball away right here. And the odds are I'm probably going to get it. But I'm going to be ready for it because I'm prepared because I've been thinking about that at-bat when I've been in the dugout while we were hitting. Same thing for a guy that's busting me in. You know what? He busted me in that first at-bat and broke my bat. Pitchers love breaking bats. He's going to try and come in there and get a second one. I'm not going to let him. I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be so on time for that fastball in that if he shows me a fastball away, I'm just going to take it. And then I'm going to wait because I know pitchers, they're cocky. He's going to try and blow that pitch by me. I'm going to be on time, and I'm going to beat him, and I'm going to drive it into the gap.
You know, I know we're going late, but you and I could talk hitting, and we do all the time. Sol or Ryan, are there any questions out there? You guys have anything for Rhett or for me? Are we good?
I think he covered it all. There's a lot of really good stuff there.
You know, the only thing I wanted to say, Rhett, as you were talking about, you know, approach and watching how pitchers pitch, one thing that I tried to do, and I usually did it every season, is I tried to have teammates that were similar to me. You and I are both left-handed hitters, so a lot of times we would get pitched pretty similarly, right? So I would try to talk to my teammates that were, you know, if I had somebody on my team that was a left-handed hitter like me, I would say, how's he throwing you? How's he pitching you? What's he doing to you? And oftentimes the approach to me would be the same way they approach him. And everybody's got that. Whether you hit right-handed or left-handed, there's typical guys that they've got an approach on how to pitch hitters. So you can learn a lot about how pitchers are going to throw to you based on how they pitch to similar hitters like you.
Mm-hmm.
My man, I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. I wish we were doing it in person, but, you know,
no,
you got to hang out in Nashville. I get how that is.
Yep.
But we appreciate it. We wish you all the best, my friend, and hopefully you get back out in the field very soon. I know we're going to be working together going forward here, so we're going to you guys will see more of Rhett as we go, but hopefully it's on the field very soon.
Hopefully. Thanks for having me, Rap. Love it.
You got it.
Thanks
for everything. Thank you, guys. Right. Talk to you soon. See you, bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.